Time changes everything. Our village, our world, our landscape. At Benson's moment of most profound change, we want to create a community shed for our village and the surrounding communities, which will enrich lives and provide a welcoming place in our changing and challenging world, where people can meet, explore their talents in woodwork, metalwork, or any sort of art or craft, and also to provide a safe environment that helps relieve the loneliness and isolation that lockdown accentuated and is an increasing social problem, particularly for those who are retired. The idea is inspired by a movement that began half a world away.
Originally, the shed movement started in Australia, and it was really about providing a place for the rehabilitation of ex-service people, so people leaving the forces and finding themselves a bit lost, and this was potentially an opportunity for them to socialise. There are over 500 sheds in the UK, all over the country. I do believe they work, and all the evidence, both internally and externally, shows that they work.
That's my therapy on a Saturday morning. I work all week and I go to the shed on a Saturday morning, and it's, scruffs on, army trousers on, go and make something, 3 or 4 hours of therapy. I go home, get clean, and my weekend begins. It's brilliant. I've met a huge group of people who I would never probably have met in any shape or form. They're people who live in my own town. It's a small market town, but the reality is the 22 of us in our shed probably wouldn't have met and wouldn't have been sitting down on a weekly basis, having a cup of coffee, chatting, supporting each other through all sorts of things over the last 3 years. It is a community, and that's what's so lovely.
People gathering around a kettle and chatting, and they also talk about people with a specific interest, sort of as varied as model railways and carpentry, getting together to pool their experience, and in the case of some of the engineering type things, their tools as well. And in doing that, they found a really good social space, and they also found that they were doing things that made them feel better about themselves. At a personal level, I would love to have access to some of these glorious tools and machines that I could never afford or would only use twice a year. So that would be a really good thing from my point of view.
The benefits of a shed don't just enhance the lives of the old and retired, they can be enjoyed by the young too, as Ottiline discovered in lockdown.
I started during lockdown working with my friend at his office, where they have sort of the whole set of equipment and everything, and we just started working to make just a coffee table, and it's actually in the corner here as we speak, and it took, I think, a couple of weekends, and it was just really, I enjoyed it so much. There's something about working with your hands on a project that's just really, really satisfying and just quite therapeutic. We just made it out of sort of old pallet wood. The pallets didn't look very good, and then we just sanded them and glued them together, and that was pretty much it. And it's a lot easier than you think it would be, especially if you have the right tools. Just learning new skills, learning from one another. And I also think often working together on something can actually bring you closer than just making connections sort of on a social basis.
So Joe,
Yeah.
tell me what we're going to be making today.
So I'd love to make a memory box. My wife's pregnant, we're having a little boy due in 8 weeks now, so not long, and I'd love to have a memory box for him, just something to collect stuff.
Okay, nice.
The newborn isn't our only child, so in July 2019 we actually had a stillborn, Jackson.
Sorry to hear that.
They do kind of say, like, the smallest coffins are the heaviest to carry, and I can absolutely vouch for that.
And I think Mick's going to show us around, because this is your gaff.
This is our shed, yeah, our little home from home.
Lead us to the chop saw then, Mick. We'll get started. You see it's on the line. don't reach in, you know, until the blade's stopped.
Yeah.
I should have told you that first.
I met quite a lot of lonely people. Certainly folk who've hit retirement and lose their whole reason for living can get lonely because the whole social framework they've lived with for ages has just disappeared. And loneliness has been labelled as something almost as dangerous as obesity and smoking. And therefore it's important that we address loneliness.
Loneliness is how you feel about being alone. There are people who are quite happy being alone, and some people actually go and seek it. No, blokes are never going to admit to being lonely, or virtually nobody anyway. The thing about a shed is it makes a damn good offer, you know. I mean, if you say to somebody, you can come to my workshop, you can use my tools, you can use the resources that we've gathered together, and it's not going to cost you anything. I see the reduction in loneliness as a consequence of what the offer is.
But I guess because of the lockdown and because loneliness is such a big issue, something that particularly addresses that would be really helpful.
The village has an honourable tradition of caring for its residents, but there is nowhere people can just go, socialise and flex their craft skills. Benson may have knit and natter, but there is nowhere for chip and chatter. But why put a shed here in Benson in the first place?
Because the nearest sheds to Benson are at least a drive away, and the thought for Benson was that hopefully it would be possible to provide a place where people could walk to it, or it would be a short cycle ride.
We created a survey asking for feedback on our initiative and received nearly 40 replies from Benson's residents. They also had many ideas for what might actually be done in the shed.
I would hope to be making something, but most importantly, I would hope to be meeting new people. I hope that there would be tea, coffee and biscuits and a chance to have a chat, and also maybe to learn something.
So where in the village might a shed go? The old golf course? The youth hall? The library? The back of the Crown? The salt store? A barn? Or perhaps even a bus? Or a boat? Every site presents its own problems, but it is our aim to solve them and establish a Benson community shed we can all be proud of, and one that will become an integral part of our expanding and flourishing village.
This is an opportunity to get out of the house. You don't have to come and make something, just come and meet the people who are there, because everybody's going to be extraordinarily welcoming. They're going to want to know who you are, what you do and why you're there.